Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Girl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. But today, I am not going to take time ranting. I'm just going to straight up bring in my guests because it is on and popping tonight. So, one of the things I really love about this work in Indiana is that you meet amazing people. And if you guys recall, back before the election, my good friends, Mark Gevaart and Mary Noone and I put together Let's Talk Indiana, where we broke down Project 2025. Well, tonight, we're going to chop it up. So I figured the second episode of the season needs to be with my peeps. And we're going to talk about the inauguration. We're going to talk about the first full week of the legislature. Y'all, but first up, my first guest, I'm going in alphabetical order. Mark, say hi to the people. What you been up to?
Hi there, Dana Black. Oh, just scooting and running and trying to keep track of everything. But I am a fan of Mad Voters because they have broke down and given me so much detail, things I can't see, almost like brings me to what's really happening. Going to be interesting with some of these meetings, but I'm excited to be here, Dana Black, because there's so many things to talk about. Let's roll.
I love it. And Mary Noone, what's up? How you doing?
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm rested, ready to roll. And I'm sure we hope everybody got that rest because this legislative session is starting on fire. We can't close our eyes. We have to keep our eyes on the ball here. And we're going to do that for you to help you and guide you through this process because it has not started off slow. It has started on a steep climb. So here we go.
Love it. Hey, Mark mentioned Mad Voters and talked about these meetings. Mary, what is Mark talking about?
Okay, Mad Voters. Mad Voters is an organic organization that came together to track and follow bills going through the legislative cycle. They even, if you go to madvoters.org, they even have a bill tracker right on their website. You follow them on Instagram. You can even see right now, today they posted the hot bills that they're really watching, and we're going to go over some of those. But they're becoming an amazing resource and tool, so you don't have to do the research for yourself. They're doing it for us, so we can bring it forth and talk about it and digest it, so we can have one place, one hub of getting all this information.
I love that. And we've been kind of doing some collaborative work. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, where do I go? What do I do? How do I get involved? Mary, you started spearheading some collaboration work with people who may or may not be officers within the party per se, but we are definitely left-leaning, progressive, Democrats, liberals, blah, 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 the whole gamut. Talk about what this collaborative work is that we're doing.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So what we know out of the 2024 election is some of our top, I wouldn't say some of them, our top 5 counties didn't show up to vote. I mean, I see Mark shaking his head and I see yourself, and that's a problem. But what we also know in that data is the voters, not necessarily, there is a false mandate living in red Indiana. We think, oh my God, we're Trump country. Yes, there are a lot of areas that do support that candidacy and that presidency, but there's a lot of areas that our voters have stopped showing up to vote. Yeah. And how do we go out and talk to their voters? Because, before I get into that collaboration, one thing I want to put out there for folks to think about, and that's the work we're going to get into with this group, is what's coming down the pike is folks were lied to, they were duped, and there's going to be a wake-up call. But at the same time, how do we get that information to them about what's going to happen and what's coming down the pike? Because that's the big roadblock. When someone's 24/7 listening to talk radio and Fox News, they believe it. There's that perception that it's on the news, it should be true. We know that a lot of it is lies and false, etc.
Right.
So how do we get to the voters? Because what's on the line is healthcare, childcare, educations. We'll talk about schools that are on the chopping block right now to close. So what we did was we brought a group of folks together who see things happening in their community, and how can we address those needs of getting back to the voters, talking to the voters, find out what the needs of the voters, and address the lies that they're going to be faced with as a wake-up call, but do it with almost an empathetic, sympathetic listening ear because we need to bring them into our ecosystem. Because the one thing that happened in the last election is the Republicans in this state did not get more Republicans voting. We had less Democrats voting for us.
Yeah. Right. And Mark, one of the things that she talked about was communication. You know, we have so many content creators in the state. You have been creating content for years. I've been creating content for years. And we're meeting more people. And we're going to be doing a lot of joint work together, especially this year. People are going to be on each other's platforms. We're going to be, you know, live streaming. We're going to be podcasting. My goal is hopefully that we turn this into, you know, our own network. I mean, NBC started somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's the kind of goal you got to have, too, because we have a message. And I think we had that first meeting. And thank you, Mary, for taking that initiative and putting it together. As soon as I saw that list, there were 18 of us. And every one of us has some nugget. They ran for office. They're doing a podcast and or video programming of some kind that's got a left lean to it. There's important things happening here in this state. And we're all found that we got together in the same room and started talking. It really made sense. And it's trying to simplify it, because if you talked about Mad Voters, Mary, that site is so dense. There's so much there that shouldn't intimidate you. The initial thing you see right there and the bill tracker are really the key things you need. We have to just simplify it. There's great resources there, but that's what we're talking about doing, is making sure that messaging is quick and to the point. Look who we're up against. Yeah. You're up against Fox News or whatever AM station you listen to in your car, of this guy that's going to talk about nothing and tell you these things, and somehow you believe them because he's the only guy you could ever listen to know those type of things. We could go on and on about that. My point is we have to find our own place to make our own voice. Someone said something to me. I have a community access radio program, and the director of the station said, "Hey, if you interview that candidate, well, we have to give equal time to the other party." And I said, time out. The other party owns every bit of the airwaves. Mm-hmm. If they call you and complain, we'll have that discussion. Never have they complained, because they already own the airwaves. It's up to us to make it happen and make that happen.
Yeah, and one of the other things I'm hoping is that, you think about Gary Snyder. He already has Indiana Talks, and he does not mind putting our content in his space. So hopefully, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Right. My studio was in my condo. We make these things happen on shoestring budgets, but that does not mean we're not capable of getting you the information. So speaking of information, y'all. Right. Okay.
Wow, it started Sunday.
Right. Should we start with the inauguration of our governor and lieutenant governor and silly ass Ty Rakita again? Should we start there? What are your thoughts and opinions on any of the speeches that you heard from Monday?
All right, the Todd Rakita speech. Ooh, I got sick. I was verklempt. I couldn't think. It hurt to listen to him. And there's cheers and everybody going along and clapping their hands. I never saw a video. I just listened to the audio of it. Death-defying. This guy is out to fry everybody. He just wants to take rights from everybody, and they cheered him on. Yeah. It was amazing to listen to. But let's look at Sunday, when they got all together for that whole swearing in thing and that little party they had at the hotel downtown. What was frustrating to me was it looked like a lot of salt with a couple pieces of pepper tossed in on top of it. Baby. And it was all rich folks taking care of rich folks is all I got out of that.
I'm going to tell you, even the inauguration was the widest event that I have attended all year. I mean, it was by far the one. Like, you couldn't have a guy. I know y'all religious. Y'all couldn't find one gospel choir. You couldn't find nothing.
They could not.
I mean, nothing says we don't give two rats behind about anyone that ain't white than that inauguration.
Well, the next day, what did they do right away? What office did they close down?
DEI.
Yep, DEI got closed down right away. And I think what resonated with me listening to the speeches and going through the press afterwards is Indiana is really the incubator for what they're taking on a national level. And the national world community is now starting to pay attention. And we need to keep highlighting that. I mean, we can talk about it today about Speaker Todd Houston and his lovely bill about taking some of the.
Baby, I wrote that down as one of the
I mean,
ones.
come on.
Yeah,
Governor,
that's on
Governor
my list.
Pritzker
Yeah.
was like, seriously, dude, like laughable.
Definitely.
But good, but there's a method to the madness. That's not on by accident. That's not a stunt. There's a method to the madness. There's an end goal there, and we'll talk about it later. But that's what I got out of their speeches, is they laying the groundwork for experimenting here in Indiana and bringing the crazy to the national level. We've seen it before, and it's happening again.
Well,
Right.
I have to. One of the things I had to listen to twice because I wanted to make sure I heard what I heard. Ty Rakita said that there were only two genders.
Right.
And if you know anything about biology, you know that that's not true. I don't know why they want to pass this thing off as that humanity is just binary. I know. Listen, I know a lot of y'all be like, Dana, what you talking about? No. There are intersex people and there are variations of intersexed people. Mm-hmm. And to suggest that it's only binary really just discounts. And I learned this at Victory when they had a whole intersexed panel. Mm-hmm. They said there are as many intersex people in the world as there are redheads.
Mm-hmm.
That's
As a redhead, I can speak to that.
There are a lot of people.
Right.
And
right.
So that drove me nuts. So we have to fight lies. And stop discounting humanity who doesn't fit neatly into your little box.
Yeah, but Dana, here's the question I ask back to that is, why is that on your priority list?
Right.
How is that going to better serve all Hoosiers to lift everybody up so we have food on the table, the electric bill? Did you open your electric bills this month, folks? How much the electric bills went up?
Thanks, Duke. Yeah.
Right. How are we going to solve?
I don't have Duke. We have our own.
Right. I have a rural energy, but equally right on that track, Mary. Yeah. It went up.
Yeah.
Right. So how is these issues pointing the othering of each other in various communities going to solve the problems that are facing everyday Hoosiers?
It doesn't. And seeing that he's supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer, they really want to come after Ryan Mears so desperately. Our Marion County prosecutor, there's already legislation out there that they're trying to make it so that they can strip him of his duties if he don't follow the line the way they want. There are harmful things out there. Ryan Mears gets it. Ryan Mears says, like, you smoke a little weed, I'm not prosecuting you and putting you in jail for 5 years when I got shootings, unfortunately, every other day in Marion County. But if we got rid of those guns, oh wait, never mind. Forget I just said that.
You can't tackle that, right? Not in this state. Yeah.
Well, and then
we got to provide those guns for Chicago. That's our gig, right?
Yeah. Well, and then Micah Beckwith didn't even really. That was a Christian sermon. Which, if you
I thought it was Sunday.
If you're not a Christian, meaning atheist, Muslim, Jewish, or any plethora, he wasn't talking to you. Because to sit around and quote scripture and not quote scripture from multiple sources basically
he doesn't
tells
know the other sources.
Any of the. I listened to him and I was like, bro, just going to Sunday school. But I think people need to understand, the First Amendment protects your right to practice whatever or no religion whatsoever, and to have somebody in their inauguration do nothing but quote
religion,
scripture.
Yeah.
And if you're a Christian, I'm sure tip of the hat. But I'm a believer, but at the same time, I also know government ain't supposed to be pushing one religion over another. And that's what Micah's speech was. Did you guys have any thoughts on Micah's?
It was embarrassing, actually. It was really embarrassing because, when you sit there, I cringe. I'm a Catholic. I was brought up Catholic. And I'm like, that's not. I feel being abused. I felt like it was watching an abuse of our religion. Yeah. Right. It's abusive because anybody who knows the true foundation of what we're supposed to be for a religious community is inclusivity, not exclusivity.
Exactly.
And is just the opposite of that. So it's embarrassing and all. And that's how I felt about it. You just want to turn it off, walk away, and figure out how to solve the problems without including that that group, because that's what we're up against right now.
Yeah.
I'm a Protestant kid, grew up in a house that was going to church and Sunday school and all those things. I get it. But as a young adult, I was free to choose for myself because my parents and the teachers I had at school said that this country was founded on the freedom to be able to practice whatever religion you want. And no one will put restraints on that. Again, here we are today. No one has ever put restraints on that. They manufacture the restraints so the lie has a way to go, a groove to be in. That's why it's done.
I think I need to take them where I took my husband on one of our first dates when we lived back in Massachusetts, because we were in Boston. We were going out for a drive out into Lexington and Concord, being the brand.
Yes.
Take you where we separated from you guys. The shot heard round the world.
Right.
Concord, the Bridge, Old North Bridge.
I love it.
Did you have it? You want to take him there.
Right.
Yeah,
I
you
think
should.
Well,
You definitely should.
No, because in his mind, that didn't happen. Like
Right.
that happened because of my religious persecution, right? For him, because he doesn't even believe that the Constitution says separation of church and state.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't
True.
even believe that.
Right.
And then you get to Mike Braun's speech. I mean, okay, so if the ceremony was white and the whitest thing you'd ever seen,
Yeah.
that speech was as vanilla. Not even vanilla bean. It had no oomph. It had no. It was just it was the most.
The level of clapping, because I'm listening to it audio. I can't see it.
Okay.
I could not believe Rokita had more cheers and clapping than Braun did.
Which
It
is
was that
scary.
set. I mean, in the audio feed that I listened to, I was like, goodness sake. And I didn't think I ate dinner that night. It was, I felt uncomfortable after the whole thing, like queasy uncomfortable, because it's not what if this is Hoosier values, I'm out.
Man,
I'm out.
It's just it's nuts, Mary. It's nuts that like he didn't have a point.
He didn't have a point.
Still, I haven't found one. Right.
No, he didn't have a point. He didn't have anything that,
Lower your taxes.
Yeah,
That
but
was about it.
how are they actually going to achieve that? Because everybody says what they have on the table is not going to achieve the goal. It's actually going to make all our communities more in trouble, more struggling when the formulas that he's putting forth. It's not going to help anybody.
Right. Well,
Right.
they always talk about how, well, no matter what we do, we're going to make sure that public safety is treated. You know what? You can't take all those monies away from these communities and not inflict pain. They're going to take care of the cops. The cops are going to get the money they need to do what they do. Everybody else is going to suffer. It's the school systems and the parks. You name it. You're not going to get your snow shoveled, whatever it would be.
Oh yeah. So that was the inauguration. We are now under a new administration. And the first thing Braun does is, what was it, 13 executive orders? How many?
Yeah.
It was quite a few.
It was well over a dozen. You're right. I'd say 13 to 15, somewhere in there.
Somewhere
yeah,
in there.
Yeah.
I mean, dumping DEI, making people come back to work. I don't know what to say about that. When I worked at the state, I always had to try to work. So I don't know about that one. But I mean, just the mandates and just, I don't know. It seems like they would save money if people are at home, though.
Well, yeah. The other thing that they, the order to eliminate, has he not been following corporate America to eliminate work from home? He wants all the workers back at home. Where's the child?
I think he said state workers, state employees versus
State.
the
Well, yes,
headlines were kind of,
state.
misleading.
Yeah.
But he was saying state employees. If they go about the business of trying to tell businesses when we're supposed to be a business friendly location what they must do, they gonna get the hand slapped.
Yeah. Yeah, that won't fly well.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that, and of course, the elimination of the DEI office, which means all the initiatives that were being funded by the, Holcomb administration, those folks are now out of a job. They're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was interesting today? Did you catch? I caught a little bit, because if you look at one of his next directives, number 12, directs the Office of Management and Budget to develop incentives to encourage agencies to operate within the budget. Well, our Secretary of State, Diego Morales, who obviously won in 2022, was going before the Ways and Means budget.
That was entertaining.
Yeah, that was entertaining, asking for his proposed budget. He could not answer any of their questions to the point where someone says, I'm not asking you any more questions because you don't have any answers. And you can't even answer some of the basic things like, did you give a $100,000 job to your brother-in-law? And he sat there.
Wait a minute. We're going to give a shout out to Representative Ed Delaney because
Oh, yeah.
I
For
had to
that
send him
questioning.
a text message and said, I really enjoyed that. He was literally like, so how many family members do you have working in the Secretary of State's office?
Yep.
And he was like, I have the most qualified people. That's not what I asked you. He says, I'm sure they're qualified. They're wonderful people. How many of them are your family members? But did you hear when he was asking them about the no bid contracts? And they were saying, well, we have to pay people to bid on the contract. Have y'all ever heard of such?
Never. It's not a thing.
It is
It's
not
a
a
made up thing. Yeah.
So that's when Delaney says, I'm done. I'm not answering you any more questions because I'm not getting the facts from you. And the fact that you're in front of the Ways and Means Committee and they're the ones who actually allocate your dollars during a budget year and you can't even answer the most basic questions, you are not qualified for the job.
Oh, God, no. Oh, we knew
He
that.
was released from this office just a few years before he ever got the
He
job.
got
So let's
released
not forget.
twice.
Thank you.
So, I mean, but that was probably the most entertaining of the sessions that I saw this week. There were some other good talking points, but
That
Ed
entertainment
Delaney-
won't continue, unfortunately.
unfortunately, and because Ed was like, yeah, how many family members you?
Yeah.
Like,
Here's another. Go ahead. Here's another thing I do want to bring up when we're talking about the executive orders, because this is important because he's not going to be able to answer these questions. Is number 17 requires state agency to reduce regulatory quote burdens in air quotes 25% air quotes 25% by 2029. So they want to deregulate things, meaning there's going to be no self-check. There's no going to be office over here that needs to balance your budget, or you need to put this before the Ways Means Committee. To me, that's a red flag of letting them do whatever they want with our tax dollars and then some.
Well, and you can even see that in the legislation. Like, there's legislation to allow landlords to put you out of your house in 48 hours without having to go to court. I mean, that's deregulation. They're deregulating landlords and their requirement to go through the judicial process before they evict someone for whatever it is. Now they're saying the landlords have this with this bill, and I can't think of the bill number right now, and I will find it while we're here. But the bill basically says that landlords can have 48 hours. They have after 48 hours, if you are in some type of distress, they can put you out. They can evict you, and they don't have to even prove that they're right for putting you out, which is why you go through the judicial process.
Right.
This is a part of the deregulation.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. And all that's designed to do is hurt the poor folks in this state.
Yep.
Seriously.
It is-
They don't care about gender, color, anything. If you're down there, you figure it out. That's your problem. It's the same thing with HB 1023, which is the Medicaid work requirements.
Oh,
Those folks don't need this kind of crushing. It'll change their lives. Their entire world will be broken when you pass this legislation. It denies coverage and delays benefits while someone in the state decides if you deserve the benefit you've got, is basically what the breakdown of that bill is. But this is the thing they're bringing forward. It goes back to that whole shiny object in the front. While they're doing things like that out front and putting out outrageous bills to take counties in Illinois,
oh Jesus!
they're backdooring us. That's what's going on. You know that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, you got to ask the question through this deregulation and it's just frustrating. I need to get my thoughts around it. But like another one of his executive orders, which ties to this conversation, is reduce the professional licensures require for professionals. We're talking teachers, doctors, lawyers. Why? Why are you lowering the standards? Shouldn't it be increasing the standards that we all aspire to be? I don't want my doctors having to have licensures, my nurse practitioners, my teachers. Who do they want teaching us? I mean, these are all red flags of there's a bigger plan here underway, and we have to keep our eye on the ball because it goes back to Chucklehead and wanting to put the counties of Illinois in us.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there in just
It's
a
all
minute.
connected, and it's just so frustrating. These things they're playing. What's that game? Mind games. Minecraft.
I don't know. It's just look at me. Well, they also introduced a bill, SB what is it, Dana? You just had it. SB 123, which is unemployment benefits. They want to reduce that down from 28 weeks of receiving unemployment to 14. And during the testimony, the author of the bill was saying, hey, this would actually kind of put us in line with some of the other states. But what he failed to mention was we pay significantly less in unemployment benefits than the other places that have a shorter time frame. So, for example, if Illinois does 14 weeks, they also give you $500. But if we do 28 weeks, we're giving you $300. And nowhere in the bill did it address, well, we're going to cut it down to 14 weeks, but we're not going to increase the amount that you get. And so for folks out here, mind you, we're going to start hiring people with less credentials, right? So we're going to lay off those
to administrate these things, right?
We're going to lay off people who demand higher salaries because they have these credentials. They don't want to leave Indiana for whatever reason it is. They're going to have a harder time finding a job, and then they only have 14 weeks to do it.
Yeah. And you watch, they'll tag an amendment on after all the meetings, after all the public input, things like that. When it's banging the gavel, they're talking about it on the floor right before the vote, and they will diminish the dollar amount given every week. I guarantee that's in their purview of things that they have to have. Yeah. You can't not do that. We are like Oklahoma, Missouri, Indiana. These are all the test markets. If we can get it done there, Arkansas, those whole swath of southern states down there, I just leave them as a group. You're right. It's kind of like they have a flag. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it that way. That's not fair to a whole bunch of good people in those areas. But my point is these are test markets that are going on. And the people that I have friendships with, folks in Oklahoma as well as Missouri, who are beside themselves, as are we, over what our legislature is doing right now. And January is kick 'em in the shin month. Oh my gosh. We're getting it from all sides.
It's bad. I mean, and the killer part is, we're talking about, there's so much to talk about that we're kind of all over the place. Now I'm putting links into the Facebook so that people have it. But it's like, this is what we're talking about. These sessions happen 8:30 to 5. Sometimes they run a little longer. Guess what? Most people in Indiana work 8 to 5. So they are not in a position to listen to these bills. But we want you to be outraged so that you do something about it when you have a chance to listen. Podcasts, you can listen whenever you have a moment. You can watch this show on YouTube at another time. You'll be able to listen to Mark Gevaart at another time. And we want you to be engaged. And the cool thing about the way our website is set up, our IGA website, is that you can search a bill by its number. You can search a bill by a legislator. You can search a bill by a topic. And you can find this information about what are they talking about. And then when they call these bills into committee, each bill has what they call fiscal notes. Right. And the fiscal note is the layman's term or the plain spoken English, because a lot of these bills are written, in legalese. Right.
Right.
But you can look at the fiscal notes and it'll explain exactly how these bills will impact whatever they're writing about. And so that's why we're talking to you. So forgive us if we seem to be jumping all over the place, but there's just so much that we're trying to bring you, and hopefully you'll share it with your friends. Guys, Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. I'm kicking it with Mary Noone and Mark Gevaart, of my Let's Talk Indiana cohorts. We're breaking down the first week of General Assembly session. We broke down the inauguration. Okay, fine. You guys, fine. Let's get to Illinois. You guys, you didn't want to hang on. Todd Houston's dumbass has talked about acquiring the 38 or whatever it is counties that voted to secede. Okay, y'all go. I'm going to find J.B. Pritzker's comments on that while we talk about it.
Well, first of all, let's not lose sight of the fact that first, this state of Indiana has to say yes to it. The state of Illinois has to agree that that's going to happen. And then the the Congress has to know about it and be notified, and then they have to vote on it too.
What if I told you that
it
Hertz
doesn't simply
customers
just happen because you want it to have happen? Hasn't happened in the past, but in this world that we live in today, I don't think it's outside the realm of an impossibility, but I am scared for what it's teaching people, which is forget any norm we ever had. I loved Biden's speech, but us relying on the norms to just kind of keep everything and be a guardrail itself, we're going to have to be that. It's a fight in the streets type of thing, because if you want to be able to keep America as you knew it, as something that does act like caring, and think about the state of Illinois as it is, the state of Indiana as it is, why would 33 counties to come over here? That's very loose. What you're getting at is a handful of people in this area got together and put that thing together. If they even, it's not legit. It hasn't been, and Pritzker's whole comment kind of enlightens you on that a little bit. It's all talk, it's bluster, it's something. Obviously, Houston says, we're just looking at it. We're having discussions about it. It's, again, that thing in the front yard, so you don't pay attention to what they're really taking away from you.
Go ahead, Mary. When you get done, I'm going to play the clip so folks can hear it.
Okay, awesome. A couple things I want to piggyback on what you said, Mark. Here's the thing that I learned from the lobbyist and lawyer who works with the Indiana Public Education Foundation. I didn't realize this about the bill numbers, and I want to put this out there. The lower the bill number, the higher priority it is for the caucus.
Yep.
So when you look at the budget bill, every year, every House budget bill is going to be 1001. And any one bill that's in the top 20 means that the caucus is putting a top priority on that bill. And when you ask yourself and you shake your head and we think this is just a stunt, this is just a showmanship. Don't look what this crazy it is. Don't see what I'm doing on the backside. But I will have to say there's more to this bill, because the number is 1008. That's a signal. It's in the top 20. This is a priority for us. And then we have to ask ourselves why. And if you notice, Indiana has been on the national stage for crazy. And they've been on the national stage for crazy because of we'll talk about the abortion bill that they put forth, that Midas Touch has put out there, and a higher level. And you also talk about Trump during December was on Fox and Friends and actually mentioned, look at the great things Indiana is doing on school choice. AKA now we have this bill we'll have to talk about.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's all wrapped. Now coming forward with this Illinois, bringing these counties into our state, it mirrors a bigger issue that's going on with Trump saying, I want Panama. I want Canada, calling Canada a territory. Greenland. I want Greenland. Well, we can just take the Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico. Let's call it the Gulf of America. This is not an accident that these Republicans are doing this, because what they want to move towards is boundaryless territories so that they have more power over you. And that's what we need to be watching for. That when you think about this is absolutely crazy and silly, but to them, there's a method to their madness.
Well, let's listen to J.B. Pritzker real quick and on his comments about Todd Houston's bill.
Well, it's a stunt. It's not going to happen. But I'll just say that that Indiana is a low-wage state that doesn't protect workers, a state that does not provide health care for people when they're in need. And so I don't think that it's very attractive for anybody in Illinois, where wages are higher, where the standard of living is higher, and where we do provide health care for people who are in need.
Well, I mean, you can't say it no better than that. We're a low-wage state. We don't take care of people when they're sick. It sounds good until you get over here, and then you're like, wait, I was making some money over here.
Right. I was tricked. What?
Yeah.
Too late.
Too late. But see, that's the same thing with these clowns that voted for. And if people get mad, they tell me, Dana, you're not supposed to call the people names who voted for Trump, blah, 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 blah. But I kind of don't feel bad for them, because they're low information voters, not understanding the real nuances of how this government works. Right. And they're shitty. I mean, literally, they really they campaigned. They went out there and blustered and had their guns because we don't want no more immigrants. And then Elon Musk, who is an immigrant from South Africa, and Vivek Ramaswamy, who is a first generation immigrant, basically said, look, we're going to have H-1B visas because y'all too stupid for the jobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then they were like, no, we don't want any immigrants. Well, no, you guys are too dumb. But they don't get it. They just don't get it. So I'm at this point where I'm like, you know what? I'm upwardly mobile. Mark, you've served your time. Mary, you're upwardly mobile. The only thing I can do is protect the people that can't protect themselves. Because these clowns.
Yeah.
They don't care. It's
don't care.
like it's survival of the fittest. They think it's a game to them.
I heard
they
I heard a George Carlin comment this week that stuck with me, and he was breaking down the differences between Republicans and Democrats, and he said Democrats care about people. They're going to do things to help people. Republicans care about property. They're going to do whatever it takes to protect property. Yeah. And everything that they do shows that. And Mary, you just talked about how, they want borderless territories. Well, you got to be able to do that by force, like what Putin is doing. And
that involves armies. Yes.
Yeah. So when you put somebody like Hexeth in charge of your armed forces, we ain't going to dive into that just yet, but you're putting woefully unqualified people in positions to do the things that you think you want to do. Greenland don't want none of this. Canada don't want none of this. The Canadians are like, we can be friends with benefits. I heard that on Jon Stewart the other night. It's not you. Literally, dude was like, it's not you, America. It's us. we don't want to move in. Like, bro, this is crazy. And while they're talking all this mess and making all this noise about dumb stuff, they're writing bills that say, well, we're going to cut the amount of unemployment benefits that you're going to get.
Yep. And we're going to make sure that you're 49th when it comes to clean air and clean water. We're going to 50th. We're going to be the worst. Watch us. When you deregulate, you've given capital, which is all of business, who needs this break, whether it's the safety standards for a worker or the safety standards for the air you breathe or the water you drink, wash them away. Don't need it anymore. Not necessary.
They were talking about the water survey that they did for how much water we would have available to us over the next 50 years, especially in that Wabash area. And the consumer organization was like, okay, these are great numbers. The data is fantastic, but it does not take into account future commercial development.
You got it. Bring data centers and see what happens. The water supply is going to go down. And it is.
It is. Now, and for people who don't understand, you're thinking to yourself, why do data centers, electronic spaces with a bunch of servers need water? Because you have to keep all that stuff cool. It's literally like a nuclear reactor. You have water to keep the nuclear reactor cool. You got to have water to keep all those data centers cool, because if they get hot, then the boards melt and the chips on the boards melt, and then all your data gone.
Yeah, your stuff that's in the cloud is actually not in the cloud. It's over in those data centers.
Yeah, I remember, true story, a friend of one of my exes told her, and I was so dumbfounded when I heard it. She was like...
Because you couldn't believe it was say it. They said
she
that.
was like, well, we're almost at the end of the internet.
Sorry.
These people vote.
What are we? We at X. We're almost at Z. What?
I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around what they were saying to me. I'm like, what do you mean? All you have to do is add another server on, and the internet keeps growing. What are you talking about? Okay. Anyway. Back to the.
Did she have any kind of beverage to help her along with her?
Listen, I'm having a dry February or January. I'm doing a dry January. Not that anybody cares, but
I'll tip that glass to you, sister. Thank you.
I got it, because holiday season and after the election.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I had a few vodka cranberries.
Right. It was hard. And you were getting you figured out what the right ratios were, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
You were down to,
Oh, yeah. But we're doing a dry January, getting the body all ready to go again, because we got a lot of work to do. All right, guys, I've been going on about the things that have been affecting me, and I have a few more. But Mary, what bills have been striking you so far this first full week of our General Assembly?
I need to take a deep breath.
All right.
I would have to say, if you're not aware of the amazing also bill tracker that the Indiana Coalition for Public Education puts out
Mm,
there. So it's the
yes.
Indiana
Thank you.
Coalition for Public Education.org. If you go on to their website, you can also notice that they have a bill watch. And under their bill watch, they have amazing lobbyists that actually goes through the bills. It's a scrolling type of tool they have here. They also have basically, if you scroll over, they can tell you whether they're watching it. We're not sure if this is going to be harmful to us. Neutral, it's not really going to impact us. And then they have this, we completely oppose. Neutral, it's here, there, and there. But there's some really opposed bills that we have to be watching on, really be taking action on. And it mirrors what, which is nice, going back to Mad Voters. Mad Voters will then take it a next step further and tell you what senator to call, how to phrase your conversation so you can take action. So one of the bills that is the most alarming that we need to all be aware of is the House Bill 1136, right? The lovely dissolving the school districts.
No, not 1136.
It's
The 1136.
10:30.
That's a wait, I'm sorry.
1036.
Yeah, that is, I'm sorry. I'm in 1036. That's how many there are. 11
It's 1036, right?
it's 1136.
It's
Is it 11?
11.
Okay,
Yeah, it is.
sorry,
I'm
my
sorry.
bad.
My
Yeah.
bad. My bad.
Okay,
1136.
1136. Jake Teska out here in northern Indiana is proposing that when you look at the legal residence in a school corporation, if 50% or if it's up to the 50% threshold are attending charter schools or private schools, then let's dissolve that public school corporation. That is going to impact right now, according to the numbers, Gary, Indiana, Indianapolis Public Schools, and then 3 of our smaller rural county areas. I should look it up. I'm sorry, thought I had it quite accessible here in my notes. If you guys know those other 3 schools.
Let me see. They didn't put it in the bill itself. One of them was like a tri-state.
It is, but here's the thing, what's really important that we need to note about this. So while you do that, I'm going to also look it up. So here's the thing about these school corporations. Obviously, ask more questions because there's a for their madness. Okay, what are they? Go ahead,
Gated
Dana.
Community School Corporation, Union School Corporation, Indianapolis Public Schools, Tri-Township Consolidated School Corporation, Candleton City Schools, for a total of 68 schools.
Okay, 2 things to note about this. One thing is, because this is a business to them, those 3 schools that you just mentioned, the last 3, the smaller of the schools,
Union, Tri-Township, and Candleton?
Yes, they do not have any charter schools in their districts right now to speak of.
What?
They do not. I was on a call last night to get the down low on this, and they do not have a school in their district. I was like highlighting, circling this, and many of us raised our hand like, please repeat. They do not have a charter school. So that means the business people, because this is a business to them, can come in, and therefore you either have no other choice to send your child to this one option that they're going to take that school district and make that school into a charter school. Now, keep in mind that charter school can charge what they want. They can admit you whether you want. These are not free public schools.
Right.
So keep
Okay,
that
wait,
in
I
mind.
don't understand, because if there are no charter schools and they're saying that the threshold is 50%, if 50% of the 50% of the students who are in that school district are not in the public school system, where are they going to school?
They're either homeschooling or they're going elsewhere. They're going for someone
Like
they're
leaving the county, leaving the district,
leaving
right?
the county. They're leaving the district. Yep. Because all these bills are threaded together so this is the one thing that really we have to start digging at. And this is only the what's the word? The start of understanding the method to the madness here. Jake Teska, his goal is to privatize public education, and he's tying it into property taxes. So there's a connection here that we have to watch for. I don't have the answer for this, but the way that the reason why they want to dissolve this is threading into the bigger conversation about reassessing property taxes, reassessing how we're funding our public schools. So if you dissolve that big entity, you take the weight off property taxes, right? That's his argument. Because that's one of the biggest pieces of the funding of a budget in a school what do you want a county is supporting the public schools. If you don't have to support the public schools anymore, well, therefore you can lower the property taxes, folks.
This is so horrible on so many levels. One, there was nothing in the bill that said if less than 50% of the students don't go to charter schools, a charter school will be dissolved. Where's that statement? Two, there's nothing in any of these bills that talk about transportation. Public schools provide transportation. There are some charter schools that provide transportation, but not all charter schools, nor are they obligated to provide transportation. This is, like you said, you're going after, working class families. How, if I have to drive my kid to school and I'm supposed to be at work at 8, how make that make sense?
Right.
What if you're in a rural area and you've got 6 miles this way to the school and 22 miles that way to work?
And this is the part that this is the part that just drives me absolutely stonewall batty. You cannot be for parental school choice and then take away one of the options that the parents can choose. Then you're not for school choice.
Right.
You
exactly.
Stop the BS. Stop lying to people. Stop telling them that you want something for these parents. Oh, parents' Bill of Rights, parents' school choice. But you take away one of the options by force.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They are. What they're getting at here too is, if you recall, in the last legislative session, St. Joseph County, some of our larger counties, if there's a referendum that goes through, those larger counties now have to share 40% of an education referendum with their property tax, with the property tax base now has to get shared. That referendum that covers that needs to go to the charter schools. That was step one. That's what they're marching towards. The whole thing is, it's a way for charter schools to get access to property taxes. That's their ultimate goal here, folks.
So you're literally taking an already small pot and dividing it up even more. And then they're also talking about they want to pay teachers more. Now, granted, that is we want to pay our teachers more, but where are you going to get the money from? If you're gutting public education, where's it coming from?
Yep.
And I brought it up earlier. I said, when the money comes back to your county, it's not going to do anything for public education, because they're going to tell you, the police budget needs so much more. Firefighters need so much more. Not discounting that. That's true. But because you decided to have no taxes at all at the rate we're going here, you got to be doing that to pay and fund these things. That's what's always been done. It's the system. Why is it changing now? Because businesses stepped in and said, we're going to run this like a business, and you're going to have to figure it out.
And see, government shouldn't be ran like a business. It's not meant to be profitable.
Never was.
No, and it's supposed to be equitable, because the other point that we have to really talk about, that you brought this up before, Dana, is the targeted schools that they're targeting are the communities that we have the highest number of our Black and brown communities, our African American communities, and our minority communities. Those three rural areas
and
are
low-income communities.
Yes, those three rural areas are the highest level of poverty areas that we have in the state. That's why they're targeting them.
So now, education is supposed to be the great equalizer, right?
Yes.
It's supposed to be that if you get a good education, then you can lift yourself up, supposedly, right? We've seen, stories where that ain't always true. But at least if you get a good education, you have an opportunity, except for when they hand out those H-1B visas. Anyway. If you take away public education, you are continuing to deny, which is written in our state constitution, that the state is supposed to provide public education. You're denying these people an opportunity to lift themselves up. And we will continue to, literally, do you just want a state full of what low wage, as J.B. Pritzker says, low wage workers who aren't able to fight for themselves?
Right.
That's exactly the goal. That seriously is. Yeah.
Because, going back to the Constitution, it was brought up again last night. In our Constitution, the state of Indiana, it says a uniform system of common school equal to all without charge of tuition. That is what it says in the Constitution. So how is this equal to all without charge of tuition? Because even though we have these school vouchers out there, we know that these private schools and charter schools take the vouchers, take that money, and are raising the money that they are charging families because they know they can.
And when
How
they,
is that?
and when they talk about this universal, which by the way, universal vouchers are already there. If you a family for making $240,000, it's universal, right? Here's the thing. After we go to 100% universal vouchers and we say, okay, each student is allowed, let's say $7,000. That's not to say that the charter, as you were saying, the charter can say, well, state, we thought it was 7, but it really is 10. So now more of your tax dollars are going to these charter schools who don't provide transportation, don't have to take extra, all the children, because we still have children with special needs. And these charter schools don't have to take them. And on top of that, their outcomes aren't any better than public schools.
Nope.
And on top of that, what is it? 1 in 3, 1 in 4 closed shop. So I know people's like, well, that's 75% is good. Wait a minute. What about those kids that were in those schools that are now trying to scramble to find someplace else to go? By the way, mom and dad had to take off work to go find this school. This drives me nuts. I can't even imagine. I'm so glad I didn't have any children. I just remember in the 70s and 80s, the same school system that actually put people on the moon and created the chip and had the information age revolution. We didn't have to look for a school. We knew we were in a school district and they'd send us to that school. And I stayed in that school district.
Based on our neighborhood.
We didn't have to figure out where we were sitting. I watched my best friends, like their daughter, it was going into high school. She literally went on high school tours like you would go on college tours.
Go on a college tour. I've heard this story. Yes. I'm amazed by that. And let's not forget the book fees we stack on top of all that too.
Fees.
I couldn't believe that when I came here.
Same here. So I'm from a state that did not do that. I grew up there, and I kept my kids like $112 for what? Well, that's the book fee.
Book rental.
Are you kidding me?
I grew up with book rental. Right. I grew up with it. I don't know how much it was. I just remember having to bring the little slip home to mommy so she could fill it out. And I took a check back to school. I remember that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't $200 or $300 because it was me and my brother. I know it could have been more than $35 a piece, and that's in the 70s and 80s. So, I don't know. They don't want us to be an educated society because, look, what did Trump say? I love the poorly educated. And he can pull the wool over your eyes and you don't even know it because you're too busy being dumb. And I will say this. Racism is real. Racism will cause you to hurt yourself. Racism will cause you to cut your name. Misogyny will cause you to hurt yourself, and homophobia will cause you to hurt yourself. And they too in their zone to even recognize it. I'm gonna vote for this guy because he don't like the other people, but it's not gonna help me none.
Can't see the big picture. That's just it met that one need,
Do we even? We have yet to see the consequences. Yes, we have. We've seen the consequences of not properly funding public education. And I am hitting the second half of my life, and pretty soon I'm probably going to need some assistance. And I'm going to have to double check the meds that people are giving me because more than likely the person that's going to be giving me my meds will have a hard time reading. They'll be at a sixth grade reading level.
If you're lucky,
If I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Because we will change the requirements for the person who's taking care of you to fit the need of what their ability is.
Yeah, and speaking of which, you said it made me think about the diploma that they're handing out. That when the first edition of it came out, the state university was like, yeah, we can't do nothing with this. The fact that they're requiring work, we're actually saying 15 and 16-year-olds can work the same hours as 30-year-olds.
14 to 16.
14 to 16.
And you don't need parental guidance or assist. Just sign off on it and they're good to go. And we could work. You can go to school all day, do your homework, and then get to that shift.
And then we already know that Indiana has a high school graduation rate of around 80%, 85%. right? So there's already a 15% group of young folks that don't graduate high school. Now, if you start taking another set of group of individuals who are now having to go to work because they're told they're required to go to work, and they choose work over school, and then I think the number of Hoosier children who will not graduate high school will increase.
Probably double quickly. Because it's a money thing. If your family's already tight on a budget, you don't have any money, next thing you know, you're 15 years old and you have a check in your hand. Well, who needs school? I'm good to go.
Man, and they don't even realize, because they don't have any education, they don't realize how minuscule
Right.
that check is. Mary,
Right.
give us one more and then we're going to hit to Mark, because I know he's got some.
Okay, the other one we need to really be watching is, it's on a watch list right now because in some of these bills in their early stages, is House Bill, again, notice the number 1002. It's what they call a deregulation bill. And even at the top of it, because if they're deregulating things, it means they don't have to be accountable to anybody. These are our tax dollars. I find it comical that one of the things in this deregulation bill is pertaining to various education matters. One of them is, let's deregulate the Secretary of Education. That person holding that position doesn't even need to have any qualifications relating to education. So let's have somebody, the head of education, educating and guiding the institution of education across the state. They don't even have to have a background in education. Really great, folks.
Representative Vernon Smith was all over that one. He was not having any of that. He because that was, there wasn't a time limit on the discussion.
Right.
Oh, really? I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. Like, banning is, just because people say things calmly, that's the if I say it calmly, then you'll know that I'm not full of shit. Right.
Right.
But banning is on some mess. And Representative Smith was like, so you're going to put somebody in charge of the Department of Education who has no experience in educating people. You're going to do that.
And mean it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
quite a bit in that bill, and I highly advise our listeners to go watch that, to go listen to it here, read it, in the bill tracker on the Indiana Coalition for Public Education. It's right there. There's probably about a list of, it's long, 69, if I go to the bottom here, 70 of things they want to deregulate. And I think it's really important because in this deregulation process, it's like not holding charter schools accountable. Because one of the things in there is, suppose right now the way it's set up is a charter school has a charter. They're supposed to be audited by a state agency. Now they're saying, no, we can hire our own private folks to audit ourselves. Ugh. You know where that's going, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold myself accountable. I'm good.
Right.
We're doing everything right. We're doing everything right. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So, not to sound alarmist, but I will say, if we don't call our representatives, again, Mad Voters has great resources in their toolkits. They have guidance to find out who your legislator is, how to take action. They also have on their website scripts and templates for you to use. So you can say, hey, my name is X, I'm in your district.
Right
and
to
I'm
the point.
X. Yeah, right to the point, give your version of why it matters to you. And it's very important on some of these higher level bills, regardless of what district you're from, to call in on these committee heads and also to call your representative on the district that you're from.
I think we need to do another show like this with Mad Voters.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Y'all down with that? Okay, I'll reach
Totally,
out.
because the people working that and volunteering are fantastic, and they will break it down beyond things that we think about right now and tell us the how and why, and it's been wonderful. Every time I cross their paths, I love hanging out with them.
Well,
I always learn something.
Scheduled. I'm gonna get that scheduled so that we can do that.
I think it's a great idea.
All right.
I got a couple things I want to talk about.
Yes, come with it.
There are some friendly labor things brought forward. There's a bill that they wanted to rescind right to work. Well, that'll fall on deaf ears, but it was a great idea, and I do appreciate them doing that. But Dana Black, let's talk about this one. House Bill 1030. Repeals the death penalty.
Oh.
So let's understand our prison industrial complex. Now what you've done is taken that human who committed a crime that had the death penalty tied to it and say, you know what? Now you have life in prison. So yeah, everybody jumps on board and goes, yeah, I support that because let's not kill people by the state. I get that for that reason. But all we are doing is providing these private prisons with another saleable item, that person till their death, so that they can get the money from the state. So they're just one hand washes the other. Don't look at it as saying, look at how nice they are to make sure we don't kill anybody.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. It's deeper than that. It's a bait and switch. Thank you.
Now, I'll be honest. I am 100% against the state sanctioned death penalty. And that is because as a black person in America, half the time they get it wrong. DNA has proven that, black folks are incarcerated and they find out later.
But the person was black. I know they were.
Yeah, they did it because they was black, and to be fair, there have obviously been non-black people who have been found guilty and then DNA later exonerated them. But if we put one person to death wrongfully, that's one too many. So I am forever against the death penalty. And I know people always ask me like, yo, well, what happens if it's somebody you love? Y'all, the fact that we get it wrong in this country when it comes to the justice system. But anyway, that's not what this bill is about.
Right. It's not. And I'm digging deeper into it, but I want to make that point. That's the thing I would. SB 10. This is a Senate bill. Let me just hit this one. This is about voter registration. And you get inside of this, and there's some really crazy stuff in there. It gets rid of the student IDs. Now, this student ID meets all requirements everywhere across the board, and it's also got a voter list maintenance program that each election site has to take care of. Basically going to purge a whole bunch of people who won't find out until the date of the election going, wait, what now? I'm not a registered voter now? I was like before. Oh, well, we purged your name, Mr. Fernandez. Sorry, Mr. Amelia, or whatever your name is. You somehow got lost in this shuffle. That's what it's designed to do. But also, they don't want the students who might be from some other location or out of state coming here and voting because they don't deserve that. So your student ID won't work if they pass this. There's a bunch of other things in there, but your valid vote that's there that you think of could be in jeopardy, and I want to make sure people know about that. And that's a Senate bill, and that's at the top of the list is Senate Bill 10 that they're talking about right now.
That is huge because I know a lot of people on the right always want to talk about, well, you have to have ID to get benefits. These are students. Their mama and daddy are their benefits. They don't, they don't have to have a car. They don't have to have a state issue ID. And the fact that you're saying now, too many of y'all showed up to vote with that.
Yeah. And the last one to just talk about again, I'll go back to that Medicaid work requirements. Until you understand someone, that is House Bill 1023.
Okay.
What's frustrating to me about that is until you understand someone who is on Medicaid, a 36-year-old human being that I know very well who's on Medicaid, you're going to crush this person. They can barely make ends meet now as the rent raises and it costs more for public transportation to get to their mediocre little job they have. They want you to increase it more. They barely work 20 hours a week. It's really frustrating. This is a person who's trying their own to strike out on their own, doesn't have a lot of family to support them. These are the things, these are the people who are hidden. You don't see them every day. They're not at the grocery store buying a Monster and filling their tank of gas and driving away. These are folks that are really suffering, and we want to continue to crush that. We already lost how many? Mary, what was it, $2 billion in Medicaid funding we can't find right now? Couldn't account for it. We can't. Let's not. Who's the person going back to find out what happened to that? Didn't hear any of that at the inauguration, did you?
No.
We're not going to fix that.
And they're not doing that the same thing with the charter schools that got found fraudulent frauds of they're not going back and asking for the money.
Right.
Ain't that Ty Rakita? He the law enforcement. Yes. He the chief law enforcement agent, ain't he?
Right. He's probably going to go to the border instead. He's got to go to the border.
Got to go to the border.
It's just horrible.
And you know what's interesting? I was just reading an article today where the last comptroller, the last accountant, that ran for office statewide, she messed up. She was supposed to take some of the gaming revenue in Lake County and divvy it up between Gary, East Chicago, and Michigan City.
It's Michigan City, yep.
And they messed up. They didn't send the payments out to Michigan City and East Chicago in the tune of $20 million, but they overpaid Gary. So they gave more money to Gary, didn't give the money to East Chicago and Michigan City. And they're like, oops, we don't know why those payments didn't. We have no idea. So now they're looking for Gary, who put that money in their budget.
Absolutely.
Right? To say, you got to give us that back.
Jeez.
You got
Let
to
me
give
laugh
us that
for them.
back.
Yeah.
And so Mayor Deitch of Michigan City was
Of
like,
Michigan
yo,
City.
we're willing to work with y'all to get us our payments, but I think you need to do something for Gary because it wasn't their fault y'all messed up.
Thank you.
No,
Right.
no.
And put the onus on them.
You know?
They can't count. Y'all, these people can't count. They can't count.
They're running the show, and they're running the show.
But don't bring an auditor in and check on them, though.
Oh, no. Why would you do that?
No.
Because they used the word transparency when they were out asking and campaigning. So they use the word transparency regularly in their speeches.
And Mary, before we came on today, we were kind of chopping it up about how the 20th is right around the corner, and that next administration is like it's starting to sink in with that craziest. I don't have to go to D.C. to see crazy.
No.
Right.
I just go right down here on Capitol Street, right here in my city, and there's all the crazy.
Yeah.
There's all the crazy.
What I have to say about that is, and I've been giving a lot of think about this because it can get tiring. It can be a little depressing at times.
Wears you down.
Wears you down. But I would have to say that folks that I've been talking to, conversations that I've been in, listening to other folks, there's been a lot of hot takes about what we should be doing and shouldn't be doing and what we did and didn't do. But what is settling in now and realizing that in order for us to move ahead, and I'll leave you with this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And this is exactly how Dana and Mark and I came together, and we're moving on to another organic arm of like coalition building, is Trump 1.0, we really thought it was just a 4-year, and we could resist that by pointing everything at Trump and doing what we could to put him out, bring forth the craziness, shine a light on that, etc. But what we're realizing now is it's not just about Trump. It's bigger, meaning there is a larger movement going on that Trump utilized and used to get to his advantage. So fast
Wait a
forward
minute, I got a question before you go on.
Yeah.
Did Trump use the movement or did the movement use Trump?
A little bit of both. I would say it's both.
They like him. That's their
They
pony.
like him. And he's being brainwashed, and he just likes his power, so he's using them for the same using them for power to get to the presidency, and they used him to get where they wanted. Because there's some people that have fallen away that are like, this has gone too far. This is not what I wanted to get.
Right.
Yep.
So you've got that thing that happened over here that is much bigger than just Trump. In order for us to stay our heads in the game, you can't just keep putting out the fires. You can't just keep reacting to all the crazy that's going to happen. We have to really realize is one of the reasons that we got into this situation as Democrats and democracy constitutionalists and people who really believe in the America is we've got to find ways to get back to our communities and do the work that kind of got us in this place.
Yeah.
Building back our communities, getting to know our neighbors, finding out what their needs are, really pointing the finger that you really think the folks in Indiana that you voted for are going to help you with the cost of living and your kitchen table issues. It's not going to happen. And that's the work we need to get into, is as much as we want to shine a light and the noise that's happening on the federal level, I think a lot of work is going to start really pushing down into the states, and it's going to be our job to come together as communities and figure out how to work together in a much more organic, close to home in our communities and build back up from there.
I love it. We've gone. I know we were going to go a long time.
That we always do.
I know, because there's just so much to talk about, and we were literally like hitting so many different things. We'll save the confirmation hearings for another show.
We can do that.
Yeah,
The GOP theater.
I know. Because I want to queue up stuff. Like I want to queue up stuff and
Totally.
play it and all
It's
that
worth
good stuff.
it.
But we and there's more. There's a whole lot out here to talk about. Mark, what are you, as we wrap this show up, what are you planning over the Mary Noone, put us to task at the end of
Right.
the last meeting. And she was like, what are you planning? What do you got coming on the horizon? Not what you did last year. What you
Right,
got coming
right.
up? And I appreciated that. Mark, what can we expect from My Labor Radio coming up?
So what I've really done is started reaching out to that group that Mary put together. I already have 3 interviews that I've done. Michelle Higgs will appear this weekend, Kurt Mullett from Wabash, and Sarah Blessing. I also talked to her. One of the cool things that's going on is Sarah Blessing's got this Project Next. And so that's my show. I've talked about labor stuff, but politics and the way we're living and the things that we're stuck with here in this state are so important. I want to hear those voices and I want to help those voices get out there. So I want to make sure I'm pushing that out there. On the 28th, Sarah Blessing, Project Next, Tim Peck, Corinne Strait, Sarah, and Scott Aaron Rogers are doing a fundraiser from 5 till 10. It's on YouTube. Just search Project Next on YouTube. It'll pop up for you and you'll be able to get right there.
Love it.
Me personally, more shows, more engagement, talking to more people because the Hoosiers got to hear about it. We've got to talk more. We've got to talk to our neighbors, tear down the walls, make sure that just like Mary talked about, make it local. Bring it back home. Make it local. It is local. We do have some control. We have to talk about that. Find out who's in there. Find out why they're there. And then help that message get out. That's the only thing we can do.
Yeah, and you need to tag me every time you drop something.
Okay. All right. I will.
Because
Yes. Yep.
we've got to, one of the things I feel like we need to do is grow our network by including each other's network. So if you tag
Right,
me,
right.
then my network can see what you're doing. If I tag
on.
you, then we got to grow.
Then that's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Yes. I like it.
I love it. I love it. Because that's what we do. We talk about it.
Right.
Mary, what you got coming up?
Growing this network is what I have coming up. And because, like you just said, we have to grow our digital coalition within Indiana. So we're all talking about the same issues, cross-pollinating, understanding what's happening in our communities, lending a hand to support and guide so we don't have to recreate the wheel. And the other thing that I am already looking to 2026, we need to be training the next group of candidates that want to run for office. I'm in conversations with groups outside of Indiana and working in partnership with them soon to roll out some exciting stuff. So stay tuned for that. But what will be hitting the your inbox come this weekend, if you don't have it, find me on Blue Sky. You will find it there. I will be breaking down the 92 county plan for us starting to build political power back in here in Indiana. So that's where you'll get some tidbits of stuff that we talked about here, but places to cross sharing what's happening across the counties and across the state and for folks to get involved.
I love it. Okay, well, you guys are doing it. I have coming up Dana Colbert and I are going to be working on an education piece because, again, we're not trying to say that the party is not important. And she's the executive director of the Indiana Democratic Party. So I'm going to be working with her to put together some educational videos on just how things work. How does the party structure work?
Totally necessary.
Yeah, so we're gonna do like a promo next week to get that out, and then we have a few topics already that we're gonna highlight that we're gonna do, and we're gonna get those out there. The other thing I'm doing over the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna be heads down Act Blue. You talked about training people. I'm gonna be I'll be at Creating Change in Vegas. Talking about what my experiences were as an African-American, same-gender loving, LGBTQ plus, queer, lesbian, masculine of center candidate. Because this space is going to be about empowering people who are on the margins. So I didn't know I was on the margin because I just show up wherever I'm supposed to be. Wherever
there is no margin for you. Are you kidding me?
Where my brain tells me to go, that's where I'm going. But we want to empower people and inspire them. So I'm going to be doing some of that work, and then I'm going to New Jersey to talk to potential. It's the Nobel Women. It's the National Organization of Black Legislative Women. Yeah, and they're doing it's called their education series, and so I am co-presenting with the co-founder of Higher Heights on behalf of Act Blue, and we're going to have about 25 cohorts that we're going to be talking about fundraising, what it looks like, and then how to. So again, the whole thing is how do we get as much information to as many people as we possibly can? Yes, I am always going to be Indiana's own, but I have an Act Blue platform that I get to utilize, and I get to share those stories with people outside of Indiana. And why the hell not?
Right,
Yes.
right. You're showing that there is hope in all this dismal. Even though we're 49th and a bunch of stuff, there's still some hope.
There's hope.
Yeah.
So, guys, Indiana's own Dana Black. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mark, for hanging out with us tonight. So, needless to say, I probably won't have a live show next week because I will be in Vegas. But
Don't
look
blame
for
you.
more. And unfortunately, the consistency that I have shown since 2017. This is season 8. Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right
That's
on.
amazing.
The consistency I've shown over the previous 7 years, unfortunately, will not be there as much, and there will be more recorded episodes than live episodes because of the work that I do with Act Blue when I travel. But I'm going to be here. I ain't going nowhere. I'm not going anywhere. That I will always be here because I am
Still
Indiana's
content.
own, right?
Right. Yeah.
And with Mary and Mark, we'll be and the people. Wait till we bring you more folk. There's
Right
not going
on.
to just be the three of us. There's more people out here doing this work. So we're going to bring those folks to you. Turn Left is one place. Mary Noone is one place. And My Labor Radio is another place. We're going to bring, there's even, what is it? What does he call it? What is it?
Who's left
Who's
is Scott
left?
Aaron Rogers.
Yeah, who's
And
left?
then Sarah Blessing and Tim Peck are doing theirs called Project Next. So there's
Project
great
Next.
opportunities.
Yeah, in fact, I have a text message from Sarah that I got to get back to. I'm slow on text
Right
messages.
on.
But
I will leave one other thing. TikTok. Follow Corrine Straight on
Yes,
TikTok.
that's it.
Papa figures that it doesn't dissolve on Sunday night, but
Right.
she's great breaking down this stuff. And
She's
most
got
of
some
them
great
follow-
videos right up there now. Just go to TikTok and put in Corinne Straight. You can't go
Yep.
wrong.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
So, guys, this is us. This is the year with no elections. We got work to do. It ain't an off
on.
year. It's time to get busy. Thanks so
is
much
no
for
off
listening,
year.
guys. I won't holler at you next week, but look for another show from Turn Left. Look for a show from My Labor Radio. Go find all of our Who's Left, all the shows. We're talking about what's happening. Follow Mad Voters, all of the things. All right? In the meantime, I'll holler at you later. Peace.
Bye.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.